So conjunctivitis is basically red eye, and so by definition, conjunctivitis is basically inflammation of the conjunctiva, which is the fleshy bit sort of around the eye, so up in under the eyelid. And the common causes of that, they vary a little bit between cats and dogs. So cats, we tend to see a lot of viral conjunctivitis, so your cat flu sort of infections will cause conjunctivitis, which we can treat with different sort of medications. The other thing that we do see in cats quite commonly is the result of cat scratches, so they might end up with a little scratch on the cornea or around the eye. And that can present as conjunctivitis as well. We also occasionally see something unusual like a grass seed under the eyelid. So really cats, it's certainly worth having a cat examined anytime we see conjunctivitis in cats. In dogs, probably the most common one we see is around this time of year we'll see an allergic type of conjunctivitis. So similar to hay fever, asthma in people, dogs can get red eyes with allergies, but also in dust, sand, those sort of environments where we've got an irritant causing a problem in the eye. We also see the foreign bodies under eyelids, so the grass seeds and those sort of things. We see scratches, particularly the short-faced dogs with the slightly bulgy eyes. If they go and sniff a cat, they can end up with a laceration on the eye. Or we can also see the bacterial sort of conjunctivitis that we sort of commonly expect. Now, when we see an animal with conjunctivitis, one of the first things that we'll do is we'll check for an ulcer. So ulcers aren't always completely obvious to the naked eye. So what we may have is we might have a small area of ulceration in the eye. So an ulcer is basically damage to the outer layer of the cornea. But that, because it's so thin, it's only one cell thick, we can't actually always see that. So what we'll normally do is we'll normally pop a special stain called fluorescent into the eye, and that will stain any areas of ulceration. And the reason why that's important is we can't use steroid-based medications when we have an ulcer because it can make the ulcer much worse. And so we need to know whether that's there, because if we can use steroid-based ointments, it'll settle down the inflammation in the eye quite quickly, and it'll make the animal a lot more comfortable. So we want to know exactly what we're dealing with. For puppies, the more common causes of conjunctivitis are eyelid abnormalities. So we may have a condition where the eyelid rolls inwards called entropion, or it rolls outwards ectropion. We might have some hairs growing on the eyelid margin which shouldn't be there. And they will cause a constant rubbing on the eyelids. So when we've got a young dog with conjunctivitis, we'll quite carefully examine the eyelids to see if we can see any sort of underlying cause. So yeah, like I say, the general approach to an animal with conjunctivitis, we'll check for any ulcers. For older animals, we may also check for, make sure the tear production is adequate. We'll make sure that we've got good confirmation of the eye, so the eyelids are a normal position, normal sort of shape. Make sure there's nothing else like eyelids or extra eyelashes causing problems. Make sure there's not a foreign body. And then really basing our treatment around getting that inflammation settled down. If there's a secondary infection, we'll be treating that topically as well. And yeah, we can generally improve things quite dramatically. It is worth getting conjunctivitis seen to quite quickly by a vet, because dogs rubbing at their eye can cause a lot of ulceration, and ulcers can also progress quite quickly in dogs and cats if they get a nasty infection. And I've seen it before where if an ulcer has gone from a very superficial ulcer to going right through the thickness of the cornea and losing the eye within 24 hours. So worth getting them checked fairly quickly. Most of them are fairly easy for us to deal with, particularly if we see them early. And yeah, we can get it all under control.